a reliable, competent service provider in our space. Okay, the utilization of the proceeds based on our announcement is that most of it, about 180 million or close to 180 million goes to as dividend to our shareholders. Obviously, people that has been with us, opportunity to reward them. Yes, declared a dividend of about 60% compared to the market shares. Part of it is the sale process costs. Most of it goes, a fair amount of it goes to paying back our shareholders' loan plus interest accumulated. The remaining part of the money is back into for our M&A, including what we had in the company itself. We are able to do a decent M&A. We are still looking. We have identified a few candidates, but it is long-term and not heavy on CapEx, fairly decent return, like the rate was not specifically offshore. It could be onshore also. How much of it is energy related? We are open to that. As long as it meets our technical, the competency is there. Most importantly, it is buying the business, including whatever there is. And you don't have startup issues. Like when we bought the rig, it's not only just the assets, the business comes with the license, comes with the people, and also the assets. So you buy it and it's a running business. That's sort of, we're not trying to build anything. As a policy, we're not trying to build anything. It must be the reason why should you buy something like that? First, we think we can bring it up. In addition to it, making profit. We think we are looking at something. When you buy a business, can it be expanded? Can you add on to it? Not just a business per se. If you look at the regulator, in this particular regulator operator, Petronas, they are looking at a very higher end carbon capture and carbon capture sequestration, meaning you suck out carbon, pump it back either inside the ground or do something about it. For us in the business we are in, our immediate focus is, yes, we are a substantial contributor because you use marine diesel. The more you have, asset you have, the more you produce. We are going the reverse. Our fleet size are declining. But whatever we have in terms of how do we address, like I told you earlier, we have one way of optimizing the fuel usage is by having this system called electronic fuel monitoring system. Out of 20 that we have, 1920 that we have, they are on 5. So we are there and about 25% of it. In terms of discharge, in the offshore industry, the discharge is well regulated based on oil company international standard. So whatever is discharged, both in terms of what you use in the installation, i.e. on the rig, platform and all that gets collected, classified into various, then they get brought back to shore, right? Now, in Asian industry itself, if you look at whenever you use oil-based mud instead of water-based mud, the cutting that comes out, the mud is the fluid that carry the cutting, the borehole that you don't carry the cutting. That discharge is being semi-clean or separated offshore, and then that get back brought to shore. As an industry, beside the usage of the fuel, the oil and gas landscape in terms of meeting the S&G are very strong. If you are an oil and gas player, whether you are production side or on the service side, that is well regulated and strong. The E part, I think, as activities pick up for us, if we decide to get more into the OSV business, the usage will go up in terms of marine fuel. There are now movement to use EV for marine. I think in Singapore, in a very limited space, like tugboat, because of the short distance, it's easy to use and operation easy to maintain, and you don't need the power requirement. If you are anchor handling, you need a lot of power, need a lot of torque and heavy duty. Application for such, I think there have been proposals to use totally EV by suppliers of people like Sambapi and all that. Real application so far, usage is limited. But we are always on the lookout what would make sense, not only for us, but also for the client commercially. And the ability to accept, yes, this is a joint commitment. It's not just us, it's not just me, not just you, it's us. because there is additional money capex that needs to be. If you have to do it, somebody will have to pay, somebody will have to pay. Right now, a lot of these are on individual company initiative. Where I would want to see is the government to be more involved, not just only in declaring the targets for 2050. Here is my target. This is what I want to do. This is how it should be executed. If you look at the landscape, most of my colleagues or people within the OSV space are still suffering from the last crisis. You can validate this. I think we are probably one of the few that makes money in certain space, in the OSV space. And the reason why we are making money is because we have de-risked ourselves from being a single client. We operate in Brunei, we operate in Malaysia, and now in Thailand. And Brunei is a very good market. Brunei activities were picking up then. It's a nice entry for us. Just a nice entry. The other reason is that Brunei contracts are a lot longer term. The contract that we have essentially 5 + 1 + 1 + 1. So it's a lot easier to come and bid for it. First, it's long term. You're assured. Everything else being equal, if your performance is good, no reason why you can't get the +1 + 1 + 1. There was, for this particular asset, there was very limited number, regionally and in Brunei. And even if they're already contracted, a lot of people have accommodation work-based contract in the Middle East, not necessarily related to healthcare. Brunei, to some, Brunei entry was timely for us. Activity started to pick up. People realized that rate will be picking up. It's been officially announced that Asia has picked it up. They have told us, yes, it will be useful life for vessel operating in Malaysia has been increased from 15 to 20 years. Yeah. It's easy to support. You know why? Because first and foremost, you have regulatory. Every 5 years, you have to do your dry dock. 2 years, every 2.5 years, you have to do a half survey, right? First and foremost, the machine that you have or the vessel that you have are international standard. Then on top of that, you follow international standard on maintaining. Then you follow the national standard on dry docking and all that. No reason why, if you follow all this, no reason why it should not be increased. The discrepancy for us is that in your depreciation, you normally use about more than 20 years, but your life is 50. So if you use 20 years in your PCR or more than 50, you're out of whack. So that in itself, there's that discrepancy. And I think the government and regulators should realize that what has happened, the tight supply of oil and gas, is because of underinvestment. It will happen to the service industry. It has happened to the rig. When it pick up, it just pick up quite fast. After the rig, it will come to the supply vessel. And it's already happening. Yeah. An entrepreneur is always opportunistic. You can't say, I want to be in this sector. It is whatever sector you have to be, has got to make money. And if you have an experience that's more than others, so if you ask me, do I want to be in any other business? No. Will I stay in oil and gas? Yes. Why? Because I know the business. Not only do I know the business, I think I know better. That's the age. So whatever business you're in, you got to be ahead. So we have, yes, competitors. Obviously, the route has not always been easy. But then again, no business is easy anyway. It's being resilient. A lot of it is your internal characteristics, being able to learn from the experience you have. I mean, it sounds simple. I've gone through this, I tell you. I've gone through the pits. When you're in the pit, you can only look up anyway. As a business, we are in the right path now. The worst is over for us. The market in itself is helping us. In the next few years, we just have to position ourselves and having what we have, what next? For us, the next, the growth story, light assets, and a certain kind of return. Now, would Equinas be with us in the next journey? I think as a private equity, if there is a future, if there is money to be made, I don't see why not. Now, that doesn't stop Equinas from having a trade sale for a week. For me, I'm also aligned with that thinking. It's business, people want to be in business at the price that you want, why not? There is no emotional attachment to the business. If the company is run, if you perform, you get rewarded. At a company level, I think we have done to look at what the company has in terms of soft talent. Do I have the right people moving forward? Both onshore and offshore. We have done that last year. So we think at the moment we are close to optimal in size, although shedding can be done, right? Ready to move forward. If a nice person come along and say, here's the bag, money is good, why not? So what we have prepared the company is that we're ready to move along in the direction that we want. We got reasonably strong balance sheet. We got reasonably good amount of cash. We just need the other part of it, which is the business. That synergize with the current direction.